בעזרת השם נעשה ונצליח. Okay, so the story of the Haggadah. We all know that on Pesach night we sit and we say the story of the Haggadah. Do we understand that telling the story of the Haggadah, it's a mitzvah deoraita? Everyone understand what it's the mitzvah deoraita? Mitzvah deoraita, it means that it's obligation from the Torah to read the Haggadah. Where do we learn that? We learn that in Sefer Shmot, in Parashat Bo, chapter 13, verse 8, the Torah tells us, Kadosh Baruch Hu tells us there, "Ve'egada lebincha bayom ha'u le'emor," that you should tell your son on that day is obviously the 15th of Nisan, we obligate to tell our kids the story of the Exodus. And the Ran, who was the Ran? The Ran is Rabbeinu Nisim ben Reuven Garondi. He born in Spain 703 years ago in the city of Barcelona. And he explained like that. When a person sitting around the table and telling the story of the Haggadah and praising HaKadosh Baruch Hu for all the miracle that he done to us, and telling obviously the member of his house, the children, the wife, the grandchildren, whoever sitting around the Seder, you have to understand that at that night, Rabotai, listen carefully, at that night of Leil Seder, mitchaprim lo kol avonotav. What does it mean? That when you're telling the story of the Exodus, there is atonement for all your sin. And why is that? He explained that in Leil Seder, the night of the Seder, there is special gate in the heaven that open, that all year around they're not open. A person can bring down prosperity. You want money? That's the night. You want health? You can ask that night. Whatever you want, you can get at that night. So when we're sitting around the Seder table, we have to understand that the gate in heaven are open. And a person can ask for whatever you want.
To everybody, only the person telling the Seder.
People that get involved with the Seder. It doesn't make a difference who. The reader, the people. I'll tell you what the tradition is. The tradition is that when you read the Seder, there is one person reading and one person explaining. And then someone else take a chance. That's part of the Seder, to create that everyone getting involved telling the Haggadah. That's the most important. But now we have to understand, why is it so important to tell about the Exodus? So on the pshat of the Dvarim, we're obligated to tell our kids, grandkids, not to forget that HaKadosh Baruch Hu redeemed us from Egypt, from slavery, and took us to freedom. But as I mentioned before, we have to understand that we say that the gate in heaven are open. Every year, on the 15th of Nisan, we read the Haggadah. In Eretz Israel, they do one night, and in the Espra, we do 2 nights. Why is it so important? I saw a commentary that the Mefarshim tell, it's to plant on us the hope, and not to lose hope about the future redemption. That means the same like HaKadosh Baruch Hu redeemed Bnei Israel from Egypt after 400 years that they was in exile in Mitzrayim, and from them 210 years of hard slavery. When we read the Haggadah, it's come to plant in us. The Kadosh Baruch Hu, please God, will redeem us still this year. So those are the few important things that I wanted to start, and now we're going to go through the Haggadah. The Haggadah starts with the verse, He-Lahma'anya, or Ha-Lahma'anya. ואכלו הבטניה בהרעה דמצרים. כל דכפין יתה ויאכול, כל דצריך יתה ויפסח. השתה הכה, לשנה הבאה בהרעה דישראל. השתה הכה עבדי, לשנה הבאה בהרעה דישראל בני חורים. Brian, will you read Torah in English, the Ha-Lahma'anya? In English, don't worry, I'm not going to let you read it in Aramaic. It's all the same.
After that one.
This is the bread of affliction which our ancestors ate in the land of Egypt. Let all those who are hungry enter and eat thereof, and all who are in need come and celebrate the Passover. This year we celebrate it here, but next year we hope to celebrate in the land of Israel. This year we are slaves, but the next year we shall be free men.
Okay, I don't know how many of you take notice that the Haggadah starts, the first verse of the Haggadah starts in Aramaic, and a language of Aramaic, and after that's all in Hebrew. Did you take notice of that? Why is the Haggadah start in Aramaic and then move to Hebrew? Why is it so important that the Haggadah start in Aramaic and not in Hebrew? We have to understand. So to understand that, I saw a commentary that Hazal bringing in the end in the Mishnah of Pesachim in chapter 10. The Mishnah of Pesachim right in the end, and Hazal explained like this. First of all, let's understand who wrote the Haggadah. The Haggadah been written by Hillel HaZaken and Hazal that lived in that generation. And the most common language that was in that time, it was Aramaic. So Hazal decided to start the Haggadah in a language of Aramaic to make sure that people get excited and not to make them bored. So you start the Haggadah in Aramaic so everyone will understand and follow the Haggadah. That's the main reason that Hazal tell us, and explaining in Gemara Mishnah Masechet Pesachim in the end of Perek Hasiri, or towards the end, there Hazal explained who wrote the Haggadah. That was Hillel, that constituted, and Hazal together, that lived in that time, and the most common language was Aramaic, to excite the Jewish people to say the Haggadah in Aramaic. Yes, Liron?
How do you write Aramaic and Hebrew? There are two separate languages.
They are. So what's the problem? Because if you look at the...
Like I can't write English.
Okay, so if you look at your Gemara, the Bavli, most of the Gemara, if not all the Gemara, not all, but 80% of the Gemarot, of the Shas, it's all in Aramaic, and it's all written in Hebrew. So I don't understand what's the problem. Liron?
It's like a dialect.
Sorry?
Is it a language or is it a dialect?
It's a language. It's definitely a language. You know who's very good with Aramaic? Really, and understand, because it's very close to the dialogue of language. It's the Kurd. Why? Because we have to understand, where is Hillel HaZaken come? Hillel HaBavli from Babylon. And that was the most common language. You understand? So Aramaic, you write in Hebrew, it's just a different spelling. Also, if you read the Kaddish, it's also in Aramaic. Berich Shmeh, when we open on Shabbos, or during the week, when we open the ark, we say Berich Shmeh. Remember, when we say that, that's also in Aramaic. Sorry?
How do you know the difference?
I don't understand.
I mean, how do you know if it's Hebrew or Aramaic?
Is that what you're asking? How do you know the difference? Because when you read it, you can see. Ha lahmaniya. Ha, in Aramaic, that means that. Lahmaniya, that. The poor man bread. You understand? When you read it, you have to know Hebrew very well, obviously, to understand. Now I understand your question. So to understand that you have to... Sorry?
Not the letters different. If it's a separate language,
Yeah.
not the letters.
No, the letters is not completely the same. Ha, Hey, Aleph.
It would be halechem.
It's just different. When you write bread, in Hebrew you say lechem, they say lahma. You follow? So we see from here that the Haggadah start with the language of Aramaic. We explain why. The next thing we say, Manishtana. We're moving to Manishtana, and we have 4 questions in Manishtana. Why is it so important that we say Dafka Manishtana on Pesach and not on Sukkot? Did you ask yourself? Manishtana, we say Dafka on Pesach, we don't say on Sukkot. And in Sukkot, we move from the house to the Sukkah. Why we don't say it on Sukkot? Did you ask yourself that question?
The difference is because you're moving out from slavery to freedom.
But also Sukkot represents slavery.
When you moved out, we've
But
moved
in
out
Sukkot,
from
in
Egypt.
Sukkot, we're also moving from slavery,
Yeah, but the move was already happened. The move is happening.
but it's the same time. It doesn't make a difference because the same time that Bnei Israel been taken from Egypt,
Because there are 2 different steps here. The first step is moving out of the slavery in Egypt.
okay.
The second, Sukkot in the desert.
So Dafka then you should ask Manishtana. Why Dafka now I need to build a sukkah? You're making actually the question more stronger. So I'm going to bring a few different opinions for us to understand. So on the pshat of the dvarim, we have to understand that the main reason that we say Dafka Manishtana on that night, and there is 4 questions in Manishtana, it's what Hazal tell us in Sefer Shmot, what HaKadosh Baruch Hu tell us in Sefer Shmot, in Parashat Vayera, chapter 6, verse 6 and 7, there we see that there is 4 different languages of redemption. 4 לשונot shel geula. And the first one is Hotzeti, like Jules say. The first one is HaKadosh Baruch Hu took us where? From Egypt, from the house of slavery. Then he say, Ve'etzalti. What it mean Ve'etzalti? HaKadosh Baruch Hu saved us from the Egyptian. Not only that, saved us on a sea of weeds, on a bank of the sea of weeds, when he split the sea. The third one is Vega'alti. What it mean Vega'alti? And I redeem you. I make you a free man. To take you out of Egypt, not necessary that you're a free man. And the 4th one, Velakahti. And I chose you and I took you to become a nation. So that's why it says, Manishtana, and we have 4 questions. But the Zohar HaKadosh explains something extraordinary, Rabotai. The Zohar HaKadosh say, you know why Dafka in that night, Leila Seder, we say Manishtana? We explained earlier that the gates in the heaven are open. That there is certain gates that all year around close, but in Leila Seder, all the gates are open. By that we're saying Manishtana, we're trying to wake up the Mashiach to come. That means that we're forcing in our power to wake up the Mashiach to redeem us on that night. The same what happened to Am Israel, to Bnei Israel when there was in Egypt. That means on the 15th of Nisan, HaKadosh Baruch Hu redeemed the Jewish people from Egypt. We're saying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ma nishtana layla hazeh. Why is that night different from all the other night? Because on that night, you redeemed us. Please, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, redeemed us now. Again, the same like you redeemed Bnei Israel from Egypt. Any question? No.
You mentioned at the beginning that at the same you ask Hashem what you want, health, money, whatever.
No, wait. I say it night. When do we say it? We say it when we finish the Kiddush.
But it's going to be on Shabbos this week. Can you,
Sorry?
it's on Shabbos this week.
What difference does it make?
You shouldn't ask for personal requests on Shabbos.
Nachon, you don't ask no question on Shabbos, but because it's Pesach, we ask. When do you say that? After you say, Shehayanu v'kiyimanu v'gi'anu lazman hazeh, when you say that, okay, and you lean to your left and you drink the first cup of wine, you follow? After you lean to your left and you drink the first cup of wine, and you finish to drink, every person in his heart, you don't have to say it loud, ask for all your wishes. You need health, health. You need parnasa. Whatever you want, ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because the gates of heaven are open. Any question? Yes?
Yes.
1 second.
Second night.
Sorry?
What happens on the second night?
The same. We here in the diaspora, we obligate to do the same. Why do we do it tonight? Did you ask yourself? You know, we all know that Hillel constitutes for us the calendar. In the olden days, we didn't have calendar, so they couldn't tell in the diaspora. But today that we have calendar, and we know exactly when is Yom Tov, why do we have to celebrate 2 days? Did you ask yourself? Akon here. Akon here. We still ask ourselves. So I'll explain to you. So Hazal explained like this, that in Eretz Israel there is such a Kedusha that you can reach and receive the Kedusha in 1 day. But unfortunately, because we live in a diaspora, to reach those Kedusha, to reach this high level of Kedusha, it's going to take us 2 nights. Why? To receive the Kedusha that they reach in Eretz Israel will take us 2 days.
But if we go there, we still do.
When you go to Eretz Israel, it's a different question. We're talking in general. The Kedusha that there is in Eretz Israel, there is no anywhere in the world. Nowhere in the world. Only Eretz Israel. To reach to that level, when you're in a diaspora, you're obligated to do 2 days, 2 nights.
So them diaspora people go there.
Sorry,
they're supposed to keep
who
two.
asking? I'll come, yes?
Then how come if, let's say, my sons have been living in Israel, but they're South Africans, so they didn't make Aliyah, so they have to keep 2 nights?
Yeah.
Your son in Eretz Israel, and he didn't make Aliyah. Okay, so I tell you, the Maran Rav Ovadia Yosef Paskin, because I have that debate with another guy, and I have that debate with Itai. You remember Itai Malkio, when he was here, I showed him. The halacha Paskin, when a person come here for the diaspora, and he knows that he's going to be here for a year or 2 on a mission, obligate to keep 2 nights, because he's in a diaspora. A person that go to Eretz Israel and he's going to be there more than a year or 2, you have to do 1 night. Maran Rav Ovadia Yosef, I'll show it to you. What they paskin for your son, I can't argue with them.
All the yeshivas passing 2 nights.
If they paskin, obviously, they have a different. But a person that live in Eretz Israel permanently, he lived there permanently, he's not going to come back. He's coming here to visit you, to say hello. Hello, Daddy. I'm getting married. Prepare your pocket. That's all. Nachon? Prepare your credit card. Swipe. You're not going to come back. I mean, if you're going to come back, I'll laugh on him. He's done so well, Baruch Hashem. You know what I'm saying? It's tremendous. Nachon? Yes, Simon, you wanted to ask.
Yes, no, I forgot the
You forgot.
Yeah, I forgot the
I tell you what. When you remember,
the
ask me.
wording of Ne'ilah.
Huh?
It's very Ne'ilah on Yom Kippur.
But we're in Pesach, we're not in Yom
Yeah,
Kippur.
yeah. But the wording of Ne'ilah is very similar to
To Aramaic.
what you just said.
Okay, I understand. Okay.
The Seder.
Yeah. After that we spoke about Manishtana, we see that there is a story about the sages. Maaseh ברבי אליעזר ורבי ישוע ורבי אלעזר בן עזריה ורבי עקיבא ורבי טרפון שהיו מסובים בבני ברק והיו מספרים ביציאת מצרים כל אותו לילה עד שבאו תלמידיהם ואמרו להם רבותינו הגיע הזמן קריאת שמע של שחרית. Clive, will you read for us?
Rabbi Akiva.
מעשה ברבי אליעזר.
even as it is related of Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yoshua, Rabbi Elazar, the son of Azariah, Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Tarfon, that they once met on the night of Passover in Bnei Brak and were narrating the departure from Egypt all that night until the disciples came and said unto them, Masters, the time hath arrived to read the morning Shema.
We see here something very strange, if you want to call it strange. Hazal tell us the story of the sages gathering together in Bnei Brak. And they make emphasis that the sages met in Bnei Brak. What difference does it make to us? Where did they meet? If it's Bnei Brak or Yerushalayim, we have to understand why Davka Bnei Brak, number one. And what halacha can we learn from it? Number two, it's speaking about Kriyat Shema. The reading of the Shema, saying the Shema. What is that verse come to tell us? Because in the Haggadah, Rabotai, we have a message. The Haggadah, it's not just to tell the story. When you're going to sit on a Seder, and you're going to sit with your kids, please God, with your son-in-law, with your daughter-in-law, with the grandchildren, you have to pass the message. And we have to understand why Bnei Brak. First question number one. So the first one that we're going to explain, it's like this. Why Dafka Bnei Brak? Hazal tell us that there is a halacha. From here we're going to learn halacha. Hazal wanted to teach us here halacha. A student, if he doing the Seder in the front of his rabbi, not allowed to lean to the left and to drink the wine. Did you know that? That if the rabbi is sitting in a room and you're sitting next to him and you're celebrating, you're not allowed to lean to the left and to drink the wine. Hazal come and tell us that it was in Bnei Brak. What did they come to teach us? Come to tell us that Rabbi Akiva was the rabbi of Bnei Brak. That we know. Hazal tell us that, and the Gemara said. But Hazal here bringing also the rabbi of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva was a student of them. Why? To teach us halacha. If you're the rabbi of a city, and your rabbi coming to visit you in your own city, you're allowed to lean to the left and to drink. That means you're allowed to drink what you're leaning to the left. That's the halacha and pshat of the dvarim. But the thing is not so simple. The Mefarshim here come to tell us why dafka kriyat shema. We have to understand why is the Haggadah telling us that there was almost late to say kriyat shema. That's the second question that we ask. Nachon? Anyone have any idea? So on the pshat of the dvarim, they were so busy praising HaKadosh Baruch Hu and telling the story of the Exodus that they got so involved that they almost forgot to say Kriyat Shema. Akon here. Okay, no, you go in the right direction, so? Okay. So I'm going to put your word together. I'm going to sharpen it, polish it. I'm going to put it a bit, to make a nice diamond. So Hazal tell us something extraordinary. We know the idea of telling the Seder Rabota, if you say it properly and you say it with Kavanah, we can bring the Mashiach on that night. Bringing the Mashiach on Pesach night. And that was what the sages tried to do. To bring the Mashiach on Pesach night. They gathered together in Bnei Brak to bring the Mashiach. And they was praising and praising until they almost forgot to say Kriyat Shema. So the student come and told them, Rabotenu, our rabbi, Higia Zman Kriyat Shema Shel Shacharit. The time of saying the Shema and the Shacharit is arrived. Why? You want to tell me that the sages didn't realize that? So one of the pshat of the dvarim sound like this. but there is a secret behind it. The Mefarshim explain that here comes the student and said to him, Rabotai, if you say Kriyat Shema, you're building the Emunah number one in yourself. In HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're building and you're planting the Emunah. But if you say Kriyat Shema with the Kavanah, with the thought, and you're willing to give your soul on Kiddush Hashem, that means that you're willing to die to sanctify the name of the Almighty, there is a good chance that the Mashiach will come. So what are we learning from here? That the student come and tell the rabbis that if you want to bring the Mashiach, say Kriyat Shema Bekavanah. What does it mean, say Kriyat Shema Bekavanah? It's come to teach us that if we say Kriyat Shema Bekavanah, slowly, focusing what we're saying word by word, we can bring the Mashiach on that night. Not only that, if we're willing to give our soul to sanctify the name of the Almighty. Yes?
Is there any connection like with Kriyat Shema mentioning Yetziat Mitzrayim?
For sure. For sure. Every day, Rabotai, when you daven, you mention the exodus of Mitzrayim. Every day when we daven. Nachon? For sure, it's the connection to plant the emunah on us. Now, I'm going to go to Gematria. Everyone understand what Gematria mean? Gematria. The Gaon Hida, Rabbi Chaim Yosef David Azulai. That's his name. He wrote a book, Simchat HaRegel. The happy of the festival. Or the happiness on the festival. And he tells us, take the word Bnei Brak. The gematria of the word Bnei Brak, 364. 364. He say, if you take the gematria of the word Satan, 364. He said, what's the connection? He said that the sages said, Dafka in Bnei Brak, and wanted to conquer the power of the Satan on that night to bring the Mashiach. Because the gematria of Bnei Brak is the same gematria of the Satan. So, to conquer him and to bring the Mashiach, they gathered together in Bnei Brak to bring the Geulah, the redemption. Rabotai, we have to understand why it has to be Dafka that night. Did you ask yourself why it's so important about the 15th of Nisan? Did you ask yourself ever? So there's few things that happen on the 15th of Nisan. I'll make a special show on it. You can see it on YouTube and a video. If you want to see it, it's called the Night of Protection. What was so important about the 15th of Nisan? But I'm going to share with you one idea why Dafka the 15th of Nisan. On the 15th of Nisan, we say that all the gates in heaven are open, nachon? Yitzhak Avinu wanted to bless Esav, you remember? What did he say to him? He said to his son, go bring me 2 different dishes. Because Yitzhak Avinu knew that the 15th of Nisan will be Pesach. So there is 2 korbanot, Korban Haggadah and Korban Pesach, or better to say Korban Pesach and then Korban Haggadah, the festival sacrifice. And Hazal say, and it's brought by the Hiskuni. Hiskuni, it's a midrash that been wrote by Rabbi Hiskiah ben Manoach. He lived 768 years ago. He lived in France. And he explained like that. You know why Yitzhak Avinu asked Esav to bring him dishes? So he can bless Esav. So he can do the brachot over the food. and draw the prosperity from heaven, and then when he blessed his son, he received all the prosperity. That means that we gathering together on the 15th of Nisan, sitting on the Seder night, and whatever we want we can get. And look what Esav got when he got the leftover brachot, Rabotai. Imagine if he would get the brachot, what would happen to us, Esav HaRasha? So the Seder Hiskuni, Rabbi Hiskiyah ben Manoah, tell us, on that night that we're sitting on a Seder, Rabotai is a special night. People that have problem, whatever kind of problem, before you start the Haggadah, after you finish Shahyanu, you finish to drink the first cup, focus for a few seconds. Speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu quietly and tell each member that's sitting on a table, Rabotai, we're going to take a few seconds before we start the Seder to ask for all what we need. And I think that's what we should train and teach our children, our grandchildren, that when we're sitting on a Seder night and we're ready to start the Seder, that should take a few minutes to grow the prosperity and to bring it down here to earth. Any question, Rabotai?
Yes.
Yes, sure. Yeah, I'm waiting.
Bnei Brak.
Bnei Brak, yes.
Is it the same Bnei Brak physically?
I don't think so. I'm not sure. I don't think so. Because Bnei Brak been named not long ago. You know? You follow?
Okay.
Who asking? Yes, Gavin. How old is Bnei Brak today? How old is it?
100 years.
Maybe 100 years, 150 years? You understand? When the sages wrote the Haggadah, we're talking about during close to the Second Temple. You understand what I'm saying? Hillel HaZaken. It was a long time, just before the Second Temple. Rabotai, we're going to end up here today because I don't want to take too much time. Please God, next week we'll have a show just before, and I try to push more. And if you have any question regarding the Haggadah, please bring with you, and we try to answer as much as we can.